Hello, Ground Passers, and welcome back to another episode of Ground Pass. You might be wondering why I'm smiling. It's because it's been a fun and exciting week of tennis. These weeks, after the US Open, I think a lot of people shut down, a lot of people turn off their tennis brain and they move on, especially if you're a casual fan. But we here at Ground Pass are here to tell you that you are missing out. This is our appeal to you to turn back the tennis on and pay attention because it's been a phenomenal week of tennis. The ATP have been in Paris for the Paris Masters. That just wrapped up. The WTA Finals have started, and that has thrown up some surprises that Nick and I did not expect, or at least I didn't expect. We will talk about it, Nick. And the WTA Next Gen is happening. First of all, why do not we have a WTA Next Gen tournament? We will debate why we don't have that, but Hong Kong delivered on our WTA Next Gen. So we will talk all about it, Nick. But first, we will start how we've been starting every single episode now. We love it. Thank you for sending us questions. This is a question from the audience that we have answered before in some shape or form during our time on this podcast. But here's a question that came in again from Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. But this question is, do you play tennis or have you played tennis? Nick, when was the last time you played tennis?
I've just looked it up. The end of August. So it's been a couple of months.
Yeah.
So not as much as I would like, to be honest. I used to play on and off at different times, different ways. But yeah, I think at the moment my tennis playing is kind of squeezed between all my other commitments. But I always have a lot of fun when I manage to get on the court. Probably won't be able to get back out there until the spring because there's literally only one court near me that has floodlights and no indoor tennis. So I'm kind of stuck until the evenings get lighter, which, as it's now, we're in daylight savings time in both of our countries, is not going to happen. So yeah, that's probably the next time I'm going to get on court, but I'm very excited to do that.
Yeah, the clocks just changed back for me today. We're recording on November 2nd, Sunday. Sundays are usually recording days. So funny enough, I live in New York City, and if you don't know anything about New York City is one of the hardest places to play tennis. It is just so difficult to get court time in the city, in the public parks. You can always get private courts, but they are so expensive. I cannot tell you how expensive it is to get
Wow.
court time in New York. If you want to get a private court in New York, you're paying, over $100 an hour to get a private court to play on. So you usually want to go on a public court, which are free. Public courts are free, but what that means is there are lines to get onto the public courts in New York. So, and when I say there are lines, like people start lining up at like 5:30 in the morning to get on a public court to play tennis. So it's very difficult to find time to line up to play tennis, especially in my neighborhood. I live in Brooklyn, and it really is tough. There are some pockets of like hidden courts that no one knows about yet that you can kind of like sneak on in Queens, where there isn't a big population of people who are playing tennis that you can go, but you have to sort of go out of your way a little bit. So I don't tend to play tennis actually when everyone else does, which is in the spring and the summer. When I play tennis is now in the winter, in the cold time, when the bubble comes up in the public park near where I live. So luckily for me, there's a public park near where I live with courts, and they put a bubble on the courts. But people tend not to want to play tennis in the cold, even when there is a bubble on the court, which just means there are more courts available for people like me who just wait till wintertime to play tennis. So this is my time. This is my time to play tennis.
Okay, so first of all, my situation now does not seem so bad because $100 an hour is nowhere near the prices that I would have to pay. Like, I have the most expensive court. It's going to be under half that, but still not
Mm-hmm.
great. I love the fact that you and I played tennis at different times of year. It's like, I'm done, you start.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, no, Anastasia's subbing on for me now. And the only other question I have is, like, I'm very interested in this idea of a bubble covered tennis court that's like this temporary thing on a public park, because we don't have that here in the UK. So is that some kind of plastic
Mm.
thing, or like, how does that work?
Yes, it's basically this big air-filled plastic tent, but that looks like a bubble. So that's why they call it a bubble. But it's like usually white, but it's like a big heated, thankfully, heated cover tent, and a lot of, not that many, but definitely a few public courts around New York have a bubble cover, which is great. A lot of the public parks that have sort of private part ownership as well will, during the winter, cover the court so that can still like hold their private lessons during the winter times as well. So luckily I
Mm,
live next to one where they have the bubble courts, and you can still sort of like take lessons, but then also they're free courts as well where you can play tennis as well, which is great. It's really funny you actually talked about floodlights, because the public courts where I live, they are actually in the middle of going through a kind of like a public appeal to get floodlights, because we don't
oh,
have
wow.
floodlights either. So they're going through a public appeal to go, get floodlights. And we actually got a heads up. I think this was a week ago, because there are different permissions you have to get. There are different private businesses that you have to sort of like get permission from. And I think so far they have gotten approval from all the different entities around saying it's okay. And now they just need to get the money to put the floodlights in, so that hopefully by next sort of fall, the floodlights will be in, because it's not too cold to play. It's just it gets dark so early, and you can't play in the dark. So yeah. Yeah.
No, you can't. But there you go. That's our tennis stories. Um, so I think let's go to the bigger tennis stories. And speaking of playing in the dark and under floodlights, the players are currently all doing that because they're all playing indoors right now. And
Yeah.
indoor tennis does look spectacular because you get a bit more of a show. You get the lights. You've got the crowd kind of hidden in shadow, but they're still kind of cheering. And nowhere does spectacle better than the end of year finals, which is the part of the season we're in now. The WTA Finals has started. You were saying, Anastasia, in your intro that this is the time of year where people tune out. I guarantee to you, quite a lot of people are tuning back in for the tennis. In the UK, I know that Sky Sports, who show the tennis, so like most of the tour, are really pushing that come and watch the big year-end showpiece on like their sports channels. So I think there will be people tuning back in for this. But what have you made of the WTA finals so far? Bearing in mind we are literally halfway through day 2 at the moment.
Yes, yes. They have just basically started. So what's been happening so far is we've got sort of like the prelude. Like we've got the sort of, all the players arriving. We've got all the sort of like social media drops. We've got the photo. The photo. And if you don't know what photo I am talking about, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will put the photo up so you can see. I'll put the singles and the double photo up. I will put a link in the description of this podcast show notes so that you can also like click on it and go see the photo. But I feel like I saw this actually on social media, so it's not my original thought, but the photo that the ladies take, sort of, it's kind of a photo that they take with the trophy in these sort of fancy outfits, and their hair and makeup is all done, and it is tennis's equivalent of like the Met Gala or a red carpet. Like all the fans are just waiting for this photo to drop. It was like days before, and people were like, where's the photo? Where's the photo? Have they taken the photo yet? Why haven't we gotten, social media clips of behind the scenes of the photo? And I was like, guys, it's gonna come. It's gonna come, this photo. But yes, the photo finally dropped. everyone looked fabulous. The WTA has been dropping sort of like behind the scenes. Of course, Arina Sabalenka and Coco Gauff have done their sort of like TikTok video of them like showing off their look transformation. So it's been really fun to see all of that stuff. I think fans have been sort of engaging with all of that, and it's really fun to watch people kind of enjoy that part of the WTA finals as well. Also, the venues look really great. I think it's really nice to finally have a spot, like a home for the WTA finals where it matches sort of the prestige of the tournament. I think for the longest time, everyone's kind of been like, it felt like hodgepodge and just put together last minute. And, seeing sort of like the backdrop of everything. I was watching some matches yesterday and they have this sort of like, triangle light show entrance of the players coming out. And you're just like, okay, this feels like the UTA finals and not just sort of like another tournament. So it's been really, really great to see all of that stuff for the WTA finals. And the crowds have actually looked good for day one. Like I was like there are actually people there. So I think is it as large as Turin, like Turin, which is in Italy for the ATP finals, where from day one it's like packed sold out? No, it's not packed sold out, but it's a big crowd compared to what it was last year. So I think it's a building process and it'll just get better and better over time. So that was really, really, really nice to see for sure.
Yeah. So before we jump into the matches, so like obviously your preview there, I've got a few questions here. I want to hear your thoughts on some things there. First of all, point from me on the crowds. I think it's a good thing that the crowds are growing, because I do remember that being one of the more disappointing parts of last year. So the fact that it's already an improvement is great. And I guess it's one of those things that's like when you're trying to grow tennis fandom in a particular part of the world where it's not like one of the biggest sports, you're going to get that process. And established fan, like it's easy to get frustrated when like a crowd being part of a tennis match is something that you want to see and be used to. Like it will get there in some of these kind of newer parts of the world that kind of, where tennis is growing. So I'd be interested to see sort of how the crowds kind of get more involved during the course of this season and also next year's WTA Finals, which will still be in Riyadh, which is the end of their contract, as we talked about on the last episode. But going back to what I had some thoughts about what you were saying about the photo, and like, you're right, everybody gets so excited about the photo. Even occasionally I get drawn in. I remember everyone going mad 2 years ago that Iga Świątek did not get the memo and was the only one not wearing white in the group photo
In
and really
Cancun.
stood out. Yeah, in the
Yeah.
red dress, like really stood out. And that was the year that she won it, coincidentally. But there was a bit of a statement on multiple levels. But yeah, with the photo here, I mean, first of all, I think Ground Pass listeners are probably going to be thinking, but Anastasia, we're very excited about the photo. This is one of the biggest things of the year. Why are we not doing a review show with someone about all the outfits? And the other question I had was, do you think there's going to be this much of a fuss around the ATP Finals photo? Because I do see the occasional thing from maybe years gone by, like the late 2000s, early 2010s, that sort of era with the big four and Delpo and Zonga and those guys like Andy Roddick kind of doing the rounds of like, oh, remember when it was this era and these guys looked so cool. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you those kind of questions that kind of popped into my head.
Yeah. I mean, we will do a show about the looks and review. We're hoping to do sort of more of an end of year show, and we'll definitely pop that section. We'll have a section all about the looks for the year end final. And in terms of the guys, I think for sure the guys they have drawn, I think, parallels to the women too, where it's kind of like, ooh, what are they going to wear? I think with the guys in past years, it's been sort of like, okay, they're going to wear a suit. And then it's like, how much can you talk about if they're just all going to wear a suit? Last year, where they all decided to do the sort of like the ATP decided to do sort of like the casual sporty thing, is when I think there was a lot of conversation about the flip and the choice of that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this year on the ATP side, if they revert back to just like, oh, just put them all in suits again, or if they stick with the sort of like casual theme that they started last year. So I don't know. It should be interesting to see what the ATP does. But for sure, like just being online when that photo dropped, or even just the day before, the fervor of just waiting for the photo, getting the photo, dissecting every look that's in the photo. Why is this person standing in front and the back? It is totally tennis's fashion moment, and it's fun to watch sometimes and just like see people go crazy over literally just a photo of
Yeah.
people.
But then, we're joining in with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know that you love, I mean, like, you particularly love Taylor's look, don't you? Taylor Townsend.
So yes, and okay. So everyone kind of had, so they had all the fashion looks and everything. The double girls did it as well. What I didn't even expect or realize is Taylor Townsend has continued what she was doing at the US Open, where at the US Open, she had the sort of like custom, she introduced her custom line of kits because, as we've talked about before, Taylor Townsend, even though, she was the number one doubles player, she's now number two, and Siniakova is back at number one, but she's still the number two doubles player in the world, and she doesn't have a clothing sponsor. So she introduced her own line during the US Open. Well, she's continuing it now, and I guess she'll just have it, for seasons and seasons to come. And she introduced her new look for the WTA Finals and kind of announced that she's going to have a new look for every single match. And it kind of got me thinking that, first of all, why do tennis players even need clothing sponsors? Because her looks are great. She's doing it way better than I think any clothing sponsor could have done for her, because they're individual to her. They look great on her. She doesn't look like any other tennis player. And then also, I can't even remember where I saw this, but Coco Gauff had this thing where this season she wore a different outfit for every single tournament that she was in. So she didn't repeat a kit in any tournament, while other players have so far. And I don't know. I wonder if this is going to be more of a thing, especially as tennis is becoming it's just become more of a social cultural, it's having more of a social cultural moment where, fashion and tennis are mixing a lot more. How many more players are going to want to say more with what they're wearing on court, and not just, you know, looking the same with every other player? Or because I can imagine like Arena Sabalenka seeing what Coco did this year and thinking next year she's like, well, I don't want to wear, you know, my US Open kit also throughout the whole of the Asian swing as well. So I don't know. It's very fascinating, and it's going to be interesting to see how next year goes and what these brands are going to do, because I think it's going to be big. So yeah, yeah,
And that's why we're here to follow it, right? That's one of the fun parts of being a tennis fan.
yes,
Also, fun parts of being a tennis fan is actually watching the matches. So you were saying, I think the biggest surprise to me so far, Anastasia, is that all of the matches so far have been straight sets, which I
yes.
wasn't expecting. I was expecting it to be all super competitive. I think that surprised me more than the actual results.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. In a way, yes, you are correct, because I think if we look at the results, which so far has Iga Swiatek defeated Madison Keys. Did I say that right? Yes. Iga
Mhm.
Swiatek defeated Madison Keys in her first match, and then Alina Rybakina defeated Amanda Anisimova in her first match. And these are the singles that we're talking about first. If you just look at those results, not that shocking or surprising. What's shocking and surprising is not only were they both straight set matches, they were both under an hour. Like it was straight sets, just, I mean, in a flash and they were gone. It was kind of crazy. And with the Madison Keys match, in all honesty, I actually didn't really even expect her to play the WTA Finals. We have not seen her play since the US Open. I was waiting for her to pull out, like, and just Mira Andreeva to come in, just because I didn't even know what sort of form she was going to come in. And Nick, I know you haven't really watched any of the matches, but have you seen her new serve at all?
Madison Keys.
Yes.
I didn't know she changed her serve.
Oh, she did. Oh, she did. She did.
Now, the question is whether that's a change brought about as a result of I'm injured and I need to deal with an injury, or whether she's trying to do something different to be more effective at it. But I'm guessing that it didn't work very well, judging by the scoreline.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's an injury thing, and I guess for everyone who, I mean, this is such a technical thing, like going into technicalities, but usually when you're serving, it's like, well, not usually. Different players have different ways of serving. And a lot of people, you start with your racket down and you sort of like its arms go up together. She starts with her racket up and just stays there and tosses the ball up. So her racket's up already. It's very new.
That has to be an injury thing because you get more
Very
momentum
new.
kind of pushing through. So
I
if
guess
she's standing with
so.
her racket up like that, that to
Yeah.
me automatically indicates she's compensating for some kind of injury.
I guess I don't know, but it's so I don't know what it is. I have no clue. It just started during the WTA finals, so maybe you're right because again, we haven't seen her since the US Open. I really want you to watch it and then let me know what you think because it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, let's see if she's still serving like that against Amanda Anisimova on
Yeah.
Monday,
Yeah.
which will be the second match on after Swiatek plays Rybakina, which, yeah, that match could be tasty given what happened in the other one.
Exactly, exactly. So, again, I didn't really expect much from Madison, but again, that was really, really fast and, the scoreline was crazy. And then with Anasimova and Elena Rybakina, that too was a very, very quick match. And Elena Rybakina won against Amanda Anasimova. And two things can be happening here. Amanda Anisimova has never played Elena Rybakina before. This was their first meeting. And it almost reminded me of the Wimbledon final, where it was Amanda Anisimova's first meeting with Iga Swiatek. And it might be a thing with Amanda Anisimova where she just has to figure out a player first, and her first meetings with players tend to maybe go this way. I'm not sure. Or, so that might be the first thing that's happening. Or the second thing that's happening, which is what I was thinking might happen at this WTA Finals, is Elena Rybakina was the last one in. She's going to go all the way till the end because her form has been so good this last few tournaments. Her serve is popping. It is so good right now. So I don't know. I think she's looking really, really good. And I think the second matches will tell me,
Mm.
if this is just a fluky thing or if she's really gonna go all the way.
I'm going to throw a third thing in the mix.
Yeah.
It might be that it's both. That Amanda
Mm.
Anisimova needs to get used to a player when playing them, and she just happened to play Elena Rybakina, who was having an amazing day. It's one of those things because this group, I think, because Madison is injured and we weren't expecting much from her. It's so close between Iga, Amanda, and Elena to get into the semi-finals from this group. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens with them. And if Elena's playing well, then she's dangerous. And I think most people are fixing on either Arena, Iga, Coco, or Amanda to win it all, the whole thing. And I'm hoping someone picks Rybakina because I agree with you, Anastasia. If Rybakina's on, she's got a really good chance of winning this, and she's my wild card pick to win it. Although I am also it's probably going to be one of those four players who wins it. thing, or I was before the tournament.
Yeah.
But I was like, I hope that Elena is getting some love and some people rooting for her or thinking she's going to win. Same for Jasmine and for Jessica as well. We will see about Madison. Obviously, I think there would be people rooting for her, but I don't think anyone's expecting her to win it after what happened yesterday at this point. So I think that's it in that situation. But yeah, I'm here for it. If Elena Rybakina comes back and wins the WTA finals like this, game on, right?
Yeah.
That's really gonna bring her back into the picture as like one of the big names of tennis, where she probably should be, right? Wimbledon champion now 3 years ago. And I think it's always better to see players do well and lots of players playing well than kind of up and down. So that's that one. But that was yesterday's matches. You're right. By the way, you're right to single out singles because there has been one three-setter, which was in the doubles, where Shayna Ostapenko beat Kudermetova and Mertens in a kind of champions tie-break scenario yesterday. And then today we've had Sabalenka beating Paolini straightforwardly. Is that also a surprise?
Okay. It wouldn't have been a surprise if I hadn't seen that. Have you seen that social media clip where Arina Sabalenka and Jasmine Paolini were practicing together?
I have not been on social media since Thursday. Maybe even,
So
yeah.
there's this clip which I will link in our show notes, but basically Arina Sabalenka, I think it's on Instagram, but Arina Sabalenka and Jasmine Paolini are playing a point, and it's so long that Arina Sabalenka ends up on the ground. and and basically when she gets up and Jasmine Paolini is ready to go again, Arina basically is like, no, 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 give me a moment, I need to recover my breath. you know so I remember watching that and thinking, oh wow, that's interesting. Like, go Jasmine Paolini, like, yeah, run Arena around the court. So when I saw they had, and this video came out before the draw, I believe I saw it before the draw. So when the draw came out and they were in the same group, I was like, huh, fascinating. They're probably not going to practice together anymore. So when the match started and that scoreline happened, I was like, all right, everything is just not happening the way I thought it would happen. Like, nothing so far in the WTA finals is happening how I thought it would happen. If you listen to our last episode, I think, and I don't know, I mean, it's only been the first 2 days, but I felt like when we hyped this up, I thought it was going to be just sort of like these 3 set battles, like down to the wire for most of these matches. And the groups really fell in a way I thought that would produce those matchups. But so far, we haven't gotten those. Like, again, like Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys, everyone remembers when they met at the Australian Open. That was a battle. Elena Rybakina and Amanda, they haven't met before. Literally, I think all the groups landed to produce a lot of rematches that fans are excited for. So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the matches go. But so far, they've all been sort of very, very straightforward.
Well, hopefully that doesn't end. Well, we are currently recording this during the second singles match of the day.
Yes.
Dabrowski and Russell beat Andreeva and Schneider earlier. Coco Gauff is 2 points away from taking the second set and having our first three-setter of the WTA finals. So watch this space. We may get an outcome of that during recording, but it's unlikely we'll be able to do more on the WTA finals past this point. But we will be doing a full kind of wrap-up of everything that happens next week, which I'm very excited. Like, last year's final was one of the best matches all year. So hoping for a repeat of that. But I think most of the stories that we're going to be talking about from this week are going to be from the ATP event in Paris that's been happening at the same time. The last Masters 1000 of the year, and Where do you want to start, Anastasia, with this one? Because there's been quite a few stories, and I think we've been texting each other back and forth about different things that have been happening in the singles and the doubles.
I think, okay, where do we start? I think we start from the beginning, and I think the surprise of the tournament for everyone, because I think everyone was expecting another Sincaraz final. And in Alcaraz's very first match, he said no. He
Nah, I'm
basically
not.
was
I'm
like,
not up for it this week. Like, call me in
no,
Turin.
yeah. He's like, see you guys in Italy. I'm done. But basically, Carlos Alcaraz loses. He gets a bye in the first round. So he loses his second round match to Cameron Norrie. And the internet implodes. Everyone loses their mind. And here's the thing, no one's going to believe me because I don't post anything on the internet. I don't advertise myself on the internet, which is fine. But
Unless you're on
I was,
Threads.
unless you're on Threads, find me there. But I pretty much called this. I basically was like, he's either losing to Nori, or I thought, Vacherot would get to the second round, or he's losing to Vacherot. And I just, not that I don't trust Alcaraz on indoor tournaments. Like, he proved it earlier this year when he won Rotterdam. He can play indoors. But this was a very tough draw. And I don't know why no one was talking about it. Everyone was just like, oh, Alcaraz had a great draw. I was like, he has a very tough draw. He got Cameron Norrie in his second round match. And his third round was either Arthur Rindicknesh or Valentin Vacherot, which are two players that I think would have definitely given him trouble. Arthur Rindicknesh has already done it before. He was the one who really Carlos Alcaraz at the US Open, if everyone remembers, and he's done it before at other tournaments. He's pushed him at Queens before. I think that was what, 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago, Queens. It was a first round Queens where he almost beat Alcaraz on
Mm.
grass. So, problem. And Valentin Vacherot, who already has a leg up on Rindicknesh, I think by that sort of equation, would cause Alcaraz problems. And Cameron Norrie has always caused Alcaraz problems. Always. They have an even head to head. And I don't know why it caused such a surprise. I mean, what do you think? Because I was just shocked how everyone was like, oh my lord,
I
Carlos
mean,
Alcaraz can't play tennis anymore.
there's a. I thank you for reminding me of Rotterdam, by the way, because I forgot about that. Because I was about to say the answer is indoor hard courts, but that's not true because he can play on them, and he's not bad at the ATP finals either. The I think there's a very simple explanation, Anastasia, for why everyone's going crazy for Carlos and like why everyone's like, oh, why he's out in the first round. Well, there's two reasons. First of all, I don't think Cameron Norrie is rated very highly
Yeah,
because endurance as your main quality as a tennis player is not necessarily the highest regarded. It's not the sexiest, which, I don't think is fair. But aside from that, the real answer is Anastasia, Carlos Alcaraz has won or got to the final of every tournament he's played since Monte Carlo. And, he's only been losing to Yannick Sinner. And
right.
Yannick Sinner is only losing to Carlos Alcaraz unless he retires. So, really, it's a break from the established pattern of Alcaraz and Sinner beat everybody else. And then they play each other and we'll see who wins. So that's
Right.
why everyone's freaking out because that pattern is just so entrenched in men's tennis that anything deviated from that causes meltdown. So imagine the excitement when someone eventually does break in and shakes things up a bit. But that's your explanation. We have a narrative. Anything different from the narrative is a mega plot twist, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I guess so. But it just, for me, and maybe I'm being too sort of like, uh, I'm being too sort of, I don't know how you say it, but I'm not being too smart about it, but I'm thinking too logically. That's the word. I'm thinking too logically about it. And the internet is not a logical place.
Oh no, never has been, never will be. Despite the fact that it's meant to be a database, it really is
Yeah.
not. It's just a basket case of emotions. I
Yes.
think that's the phraseology, or like what's the meme of it? A glass case of emotion right now. Anyway, that that
But
is that is the internet. While you mention him, do you want to talk about Vacherot?
yes, I mean,
He's done it
and
again, guys.
he did. He did it again. And for me, it's it's not shocking, and I really am happy that he did this again at a 1000 level event, because while he was doing this through Shanghai, there were just so many, and again, we literally just talked about the internet not being a logical or rational place, but you just see these comments online, and it's sort of, oh, it's because Sinner and Alcaraz are not there, and this ATP in disarray. And I just felt no one actually watching Vacherot's tennis can say that with a straight face. He played some, I mean, just gorgeous, excellent tennis in Shanghai. So much so that you're really thinking, you're like, where in the world has this guy been? And you look back and you're like, okay, yes, he was injured for half a year while he was making his push to the top 100. So, yes, there are reasons why he wasn't around, but he played so, so well in Shanghai that I was very sure, I'm not a betting woman, but could put money on it, that he wasn't going to sort of like disappear into the ether. Even when he lost that first round match against Taylor Fritz, and where was he playing? I think it was Basel that he played. I still thought that was a good match, and Fritz had to fight tooth and nail to win that match against him. So coming into Paris, he crushed. He can play really, really good tennis. We got our second cousinade. I think that's how you say it. Cousinade. But he got to play his cousin again in the second round, and he won again against Rindicknesh. I will say with Rindicknesh can definitely play, and I think he can beat Valentin, but his problem right now with Rindicknesh, I think, is he needs a little bit of Cameron Norrie. He needs a little bit of endurance, because he won the first set, lost the second, and by the third, he was done. Like, he did not have any more energy. Like, he could not play anymore, and that's why he lost, I think. But yeah, Valentin played so well, and he is now in the live ranking. Last I checked, he is 30 in the world, poised to be seated in the Australian Open, which is madness, but
Yeah,
great. I mean,
well
crazy
deserved, right? He's
great.
as a
Yeah.
1000 champion. You definitely should be. So yeah, I would say he's in a good position. Yeah, he's here to say. I think. Yeah, you're right. There's a sort of thing of like, oh, these kind of people who pop up and then disappear. And I guess it's the thing is like we have to see how Valentin Vacherot does and like how long he sustains it for. Because if you think about other recent first time 1000 champions, maybe not Ben Shelton, because Ben Shelton's done something with his when he won it in Canada. But if you look at Jakub Mensik, he got to the semi-finals of Madrid, and then where's he been since? Or
Yeah.
Alex Poprin winning Canada in 2024, and that basically was the foundation of his ranking right up until trying to defend his title this year, and now he's dropped kind of sort of top 40, 50-ish, maybe even further. I haven't checked his ranking for a while, but um, yeah, he's not in a great position. And so I guess there's this kind of history of these guys popping up and going, oh, this is exciting. I think Poprin's probably the better comparison here of, okay, is Vacherot going to be an Alexei Poprin type, or is he going to be, someone else that kind of has a big breakthrough at this point in his career and actually does something with it? I'm trying to think of an equivalent on the men's tour that would sort that fit that happy end of the scale. Off the top of my head, I can't right now, so maybe you can. But I think that's probably where a lot of this lack of confidence and Vacherot comes from is we've kind of seen it before with other people. So what's so special about him?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel it's funny. Oh, you know what, too? Also, what will be really interesting is, for example, so he lost the quarterfinal match to Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's someone we're going to talk about next here. And Felix had, he'd watched his matches. Like, he talked about after the match how he'd sort of like studied what he did in Shanghai and, was prepared to play him. And I think that's what's going to come next, is think Vacherot has had this element of surprise for a lot of these players because, you know, I I'm sure a lot of players just maybe came into playing Valentin Vacherot thinking Shanghai was a fluke. He was 204 in the world. What's the worst that can happen? And well, the worst that can happen is you lost, honey. So it's think we'll see next year is how is he going to hold up to people getting to know his game and getting to know what he's good at and coming in with a plan. So that will be interesting for sure. Something to mention, though, before we move off Valentin Vacherot, we talked to his girlfriend, Emily Schneider. That was a really fun bonus surprise episode. But I've been thinking for a very, very long time about wanting to talk to a wag, a tennis wag, anyone. I didn't really have a specific one in mind, but I'm very fascinated by how tennis wags have helped promote the sport of tennis. And, we see this mostly with Morgan, Taylor Fritz's girlfriend, and how so many people follow her and from following her follow the sport of tennis. And I reached out to Emily, and just said, "Hey, would you love to talk? Would you like to be on the podcast?" And she said yes. And I was like, well, yay. And I was joined by a regular now, I guess, on our podcast, Jessica Schiffer from Hardcourt, who we had during the US Open to talk about some tennis fashion. She had an article about wags and the different wags in tennis. And she joined me for that interview. So, yes, I will leave a link to our interview with Emily Schneider. So, check out that interview. It was super fun. Just, if anything, just watch it to listen to how she and Valentin met, because I feel like everyone thinks they met in the US college system and they just did not. They didn't. So, go back and listen to that episode. Hello, editing Anastasia here, popping in to just make a few notes because things happen in tennis. And also, we were missing a couple of things from the original recording of this episode. First things first, FAA is not going to Metz. In his post tournament interview from the Paris Masters, he mentioned that he put his body through a lot to get to the finals of the Paris Masters. So he is not going to Metz. He doesn't want to do lasting damage, which is really smart. So he is currently in the 8th position. Musetti is still in the Athens draw, so we will see if he gets ahead of FAA by making the finals and winning the tournament, or if Djokovic pulls out of the finals, therefore getting FAA and Musetti into the ATP finals. We will see what happens. Also, something that I forgot to mention during the recording, the Paris Masters had its very first wheelchair tournament this year. This is something that Masters events have been doing recently. We've been talking so much about how Masters events are now 2 week long, and a few Masters events have been using this extra time and extra space to add in wheelchair events. I have seen this now at the Miami Open and some other tournaments as well throughout the year. Now, Paris is actually still a 1 week event, but they had a wheelchair event that was won for the first time by Alfie Hewitt. We all know Alfie Hewitt. He is a legend in wheelchair tennis, and he won the very first edition of the Paris Masters. And finally, we have a voice note. We have a voice note from a ground passer who went to the Paris Masters. Katie sent us a voice note. She attended the semifinals day at the Paris Masters and sent us a lovely voice note with photos and video. So stay tuned to hear from Katie all about the Paris Masters.
Whew, where do I even begin? The stars aligned, and I had the opportunity this week while I was in Paris for work to attend the Rolex Paris Masters for the semifinals. It was a dream experience. It's been a bucket list thing for me to do for years. I'm so glad it worked out. I'm Katie, but most of the people around me know me as that tennis mom because we live and breathe tennis. But this is the first time I've been able to attend a live tennis match without my kids in tow or them being the ones on the court. It's fall in Paris right now, so there was a lot of trench coats, very chic fashion, but also cozy tennis vibes at the same time, which honestly made my heart happy. I loved it. Getting to and from the La Défense Arena, which I know is a new venue this year, was very simple. I did a ride share because it was pouring rain and I was running late, to be honest. But coming back, I was able to get onto the metro very quick, very simple. On their app, it kind of described on exactly how to do it. And the metro is a very inexpensive way of getting around the city anyway. The arena itself is gorgeous. It's very sleek, modern feeling, surprisingly intimate for a master's level event. Whereas at like Indian Wells or the US Open, other tournaments I've personally been to, I feel like there's a lot of things to do outside and around the courts. This was very much focused on the tennis. There was a Lacoste shop, beautiful merchandise, obviously, and there was like a tournament, like little pop-up shop in there, and like food concession stands around the courts, but it was very tennis focused. My only complaint would have to be the food. I've heard a lot of people like responding to this online, and I would agree. There was very poor food options. It was very much like going to like a baseball game or a normal sporting event in the US where it was just like hot dogs, pretzels, very basic like beer. There was no like signature cocktail or, other food options there at the event, which is totally fine. However, that is something that I've grown accustomed to. Going to Indian Wells, there's a huge food court. So that was a big like contrast point for me. Now, the coolest thing for me and the biggest shock of the whole experience was the cost of the tickets. I am used to being at Indian Wells, US Open, like those prices are usually very prohibitive, which is why our family usually does the grounds passes for most tournaments. However, this tournament for the semifinals, I paid 200 euros to be 9 seats from the court at baseline at a resale ticket. Like I was stunned. I could not believe how accessible that was to have that, up close feel of a tennis match. Especially it being the semifinals, I got to see both men's semifinals in singles and doubles for the same ticket. It wasn't like a separate day session, night session. At this point in the tournament, it was one ticket for the whole thing, which I was just over the moon over. I loved how they engaged with the crowd as well in between the matches. They had fun music playing. They were actually engaging with us, trying to get people to dance and talk. It was very fun. And the international community of tennis is something that maybe I'm just a little bit more isolated in the US, but it definitely felt very like a very big family. People were talking to each other, speaking different languages. I was talking to people from Italy, Germany, and France all around me, having a great time. We got to talk about Felix. There was a Canadian couple that was there from Toronto, which was really fun to, just chat with them about tennis. I love that about the tennis community as a whole, and that was definitely there at this event. And I realize I'm biased, but when you're done with the event, you get to walk outside and you're in Paris. And so if you're ever there or you have a chance, add it to your bucket list. I highly recommend it. I will be coming back and bringing the kids next time. So I hope you get the chance to go and enjoy.
Thank you so much, Katie, for sending us a message straight from Paris. The Paris Masters sounds like such a fun event. Actually, super surprised to hear about the food situation. I would think the Paris Masters would have more of a food situation considering it's in Paris. But hey, this is how we find out about the events from you, ground passers on the ground, because Nick and I cannot, as of yet, go to every single tournament. So if you want to send us a voice note from the grounds at a tournament that you're attending, as always, send us a voice note between 2 to 4 minutes long at our email at groundpasspodcast@gmail.com. Email is in the show notes of this podcast. Now, back to the podcast. Next up, FAA. Felix Auger-Aliassime. What a back end to this year he's having. It is incredible, this final push he tried to just have to make it to the year-end final. When he came into the Paris Masters, I think he was a bit injured because he had pulled, what was the tournament he pulled out of?
I think it was
Was that
Basel.
Vienna? No, Basel.
That was the one with all the
With
retirements.
Yeah, he was one of the many retirements from Basel. And he had like a bit of a knee injury, so I didn't know what to expect. But he kind of played himself into form and got to the final of Paris, and he's played so well. FA has had quite the year for sure. So it's been really great to watch. And if you haven't watched it yet, spoilers coming in, but he lost the finals to Yannick Sinner. Obviously, because Yannick Sinner wins everything, guys. Like, this is a broken record at this point, but he lost the finals to Yannick Sinner, so he will not be making the year-end finals unless something happens, guys, which there's still some things to drop. Some things could happen. We will see. I don't know.
Wait, what
Yes.
do you mean when you say he will not be making the year-end finals? What do you mean?
He's not in right
No, he
now.
is. He's
He
he's
is?
not confirmed in, but he's top 8
Is he top 8? I thought he
according to
had
the.
to officially win
No, that was to
Paris.
qualify. He's ahead of Musetti in the race. It's going to next week.
No, it's not, apparently.
He's definitely top 8 according to the Nito ATP Finals.
Really? Wait a second.
Yeah, I've
Because
been on their website before the podcast.
because today it said who said it? They said next week's points are not going to count. So then that
I
means he isn't? Oh, he is top 8.
He's now
Wait,
top
so he
8.
isn't.
He'd have to be, yeah.
Did anyone tell Musetti that? Because he's in Athens.
Yeah, Musetti's playing Athens and Felix is playing Musetti.
Because according to
He's so so just to say, like, we'll find out whether he's in, but like basically, it's that from the commentary on the final, they were saying that Felix needed to win the tournament to confirm that he was definitely going to qualify, but he's in the top 8. I mean, he's
So it
in a
goes
pretty
till
good
next
position
week.
anyway, because even if next week's points do count, Musetti needs to win the tournament needs to win Athens, and Felix needs to. I guess Felix needs to
So
just
basically, so I
not
see, I actually
lose.
just, yeah, I just saw the points. I just saw it here, guys. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm going to leave this all in. I might just leave it in
Yeah.
because, guys, this is how confusing it's gotten now for the year-end finals. Because, first of all, you know, did so well to try and make it to the finals. The whole thing was that if he won, he would make it to the year-end finals. I didn't think the points from next week would count, but apparently they do now. So next week, Musetti and FAA are going to try and fight to make it to the year-end finals. By the way, next week is the last week before the year-end finals. So they might be playing till the very last minute, basically. But here's what happens. Felix Auger-Aliassime qualifies if he reaches the semifinals in Metz, which he's playing next week, or Musetti doesn't win Athens, which is what Musetti is playing next week, or Musetti qualifies if he wins Athens and Felix Auger-Aliassime doesn't reach the semifinals of Metz. Like, it's giving me a tennis headache.
Yeah, so Felix basically needs to. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get a bye in Metz or not, but
I actually was looking this up to see what tournaments. I think he does. I think they both get a bye.
they both get a bye.
In their
So they're both.
tournaments, yeah.
So basically, Felix Auger-Aliassime is 2 wins away, like Elena Rybakina was for the WTA Finals. And then obviously he's then got to get there. I imagine if he qualifies, he's going to get to the semi-finals, then pull out and fly to Turin.
Immediately, because he has
Yeah.
to play the very next Monday.
Well, you say Monday.
Depending on where he lands in the draw.
The ATP final starts on Sunday.
Oh no, it starts on Sunday.
Yeah. Either that or the minute Musetti loses his match, Felix is pulling out.
Right. And then he qualifies. Guys, we're getting down to the wire.
This is
The
wild.
wire.
This is wild, everybody. We're wired.
But anyway, either way, Felix Auger-Aliassime has done some incredible work to get himself here. And he played very, very well. Sinner won in Paris, as a lot of people expected, because it was either going to be Sinner or Alcaraz. So we got Sinner. And we'll go to Turin, and it's either going to be Sinner or Alcaraz. And we'll see who wins.
Felix did push him, though. Felix came close to getting a set.
Yes, he did. Yeah. I saw the scoreline. It went to tiebreak, right? In the second? Yeah.
It did, yeah. But Sinner served to stay in the set at 4-5, and it got to deuce on his serve. Like, wow. Felix was 2 points away. So Felix made it we saw that US Open semi-final they played, right? Felix can get under Jannik's skin. He can also get it under Carlos's skin, actually. They do have a bit of a history of a rivalry. So if Felix puts it all together, he would be a fun wild card in that ATP Finals field, should he get there.
Yeah.
So he likes it indoors. So just to say as well, Jannik Sinner has now regained the world #1 ranking as a result of winning the tournament. And he'll hold it for the next week, and then it'll all be kind of up in the air after the ATP Finals. There is going to be a battle for #1 at the ATP Finals, according to my calculations. This is my own calculations, which are right half the time. The Jannik Sinner would need Carlos Alcaraz to not make the final of Turin, and him to win the tournament to regain the #1 ranking for to finish the year as #1, which isn't crazy, but I think a lot of people, like myself, would think, well, maybe this version of Carlos is going to actually, really step up, and then they'll go head to head. So if Carlos makes the final in Turin, he will end the season as well #1. But I love the fact that it's so nip and tuck between them right now.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say, we've been talking about crazy qualification scenarios for the singles. We don't have that problem for the doubles, thankfully. That got sorted out pretty early on this week, Anastasia.
Thank God. Thank goodness. That is all done and dusted. We have our top 8, and Evan King and Christian Harrison made it. They were the 8th team to qualify for the year-end finals, making them the Cinderella story of this season of tennis. They are the story. When I say we, I know it's me. I know it's just me. I get it. Shouting from every rooftop that I can find that Evan King and Christian Harrison are the story of the season. But I think it's great. I think for a team who could not get into qualies with their ranking at the beginning of a year, to now have made it to the year-end finals in Turin is an incredible story. It just shows how well they did in the year, because that's what the year-end finals says. The year-end finals is based on the amount of points that you earn during the calendar year. So from January till the November, basically. And they have proven that they have played some phenomenal tennis, gotten to the later stages of a lot of tournaments, and have gotten themselves to the year-end final. I have promises from both of them that they will come on the podcast. So I'm trying to get them both before Turin, but just so happens that Evan King is in Athens playing tennis.
Yeah, he's playing with Marcos Giron.
So he decided to stay and not pull out of the tournament. So he will stay in Athens, play with Marcos, and be in that tournament because he signed up for it. So whenever I can get both of them, I will try my best to get them before Turin starts. If not, I will get them after Turin is over because I do not want to disrupt their tournament. But you can be guaranteed we will be talking to Harrison King on this podcast. So stay tuned for that.
That's going to be one of the highlights of the year for us.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for that when we can make that happen. But yeah, really great to see, and they are going to be again the fun wild card pair in that finals mix. Like I think every year end finals actually I'd say has a kind of a ground pass pairing in there of like the kind of the ones you wouldn't expect to see, or the people you could probably go see and support.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to highlight when these tournaments properly get underway.
Yeah.
Is there any other stories from Paris you wanted to cover before we moved on, Anastasia?
Yes. When did Bublik become a real tennis player? Is my question.
French Open?
Do you think? Probably. Was it French
That's when he
Open
started to take it
after
seriously.
he yeah, after he beat Draper maybe? He decided I am a tennis player.
Maybe.
He decided I should take this seriously from now on. Guys, Bublik is top 15 in the world right now. And here's the thing. Bublik, he has the skill. That's been the joke of this whole thing. Alexander Bublik, Sasha Bublik, has always had the skill to be an excellent tennis player. He's just always not, he's always been the jokester. He does the trick shots. He gets irritated. He gets irritated with the crowd. He argues with his opponent. He doesn't want to do the handshake. He's never taking it so seriously. And then all of a sudden, Nick, he was one of the people that we were talking about as being in contention to be in the year-end finals. I was like, what is happening? How did
Next year.
Bublik get here? Next year. I mean, seriously. But it's actually kind of crazy that he has done this. And I love it because it's nice to see these characters in tennis. I think, especially on the ATP, if we have an interesting group of top 20 players. I was actually looking the other day at the rankings and I thought, wow, this is actually a very interesting group. Like FAA is now back in the top 10. Bublik is like hanging around in the top 15. And, Ben Shelton is a top 7 player. Like, it's a very interesting, fun group of players. Everyone has a different, sort of personality and is from a different place in the world. I don't know. It's starting to look very interesting, this group of 20 players.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're all pretty evenly matched as well. You're kind of guaranteed to have some kind of story. I mean, like they're all kind of squabbling for third place, right? So maybe
Yeah.
fourth if you include Djokovic in the mix. But it'll be interesting to see. Like it'll be one of those guys who's going to prove to be a problem for Alcaraz and Sinner in the immediate future if it's going to come from anywhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
Bublik is definitely that. Like because he's beaten Sinner already this year. I don't think we've seen him play Alcaraz yet. That could be fun. I think Alcaraz
That
would
could be
love
fun.
to play him because they'll just have
Almost too fun.
they would be like out drop shotting each other. I think.
Yeah. Actually, now that we just mentioned the name Djokovic, we don't know if he's playing Turin.
Well, he's qualified, but the question is
He's
whether he actually is
qualified.
going to show up.
Yeah. Musetti almost needs him to announce he's not
Yeah,
playing.
pretty much.
Like, so that these players don't have to play next week. you know.
Honestly, I think he'll play.
You think he'll play?
I think he's going to play. I think
Mm.
he still wants to prove a point, and I still think he wants to prove he's in the mix with Alcaraz and Sinner.
Because here's my thing. So, I mean, we haven't talked about this yet. We will like mention the tournaments, obviously, that are happening next week. But Djokovic is playing Athens. Why would he play the tournament before Turin? He never would have done that
I think he was
before.
down to play Belgrade, and then they changed where it was going to be. I think that's
Yeah,
literally
but
the
I mean,
only
he
reason.
but he changed where it was going to be. It's his tournament. He
Fair.
owns the Belgrade tournament, so he changed where it was going to be.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's literally just some kind of commitment that he has to play this tournament. That's the only reason he's going to play. I don't know how much of an effort he's going to put in for it. He might do one match and then pull out. Is what I imagine he'll do.
Okay, because I just don't see why he would sign up to play. Because I
I
mean, obviously, I understand why he has to play it because it literally is his family's tournament.
Yeah.
But I,
He sells tickets. He wants the tournament to do well.
yeah.
Like,
But then that kind of is also then why, because technically he has a bye, so he wouldn't be playing until Wednesday at the earliest.
yeah, maybe Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about.
Interesting. Interesting. I just don't think he's playing. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it all falls. We'll see how it all falls through. Um, Next, Hong
Yeah.
Kong. Hong
So
Kong.
we're done with the old generation. Let's talk about the new generation.
Yes. Yes. Let's move on because Hong Kong delivered. Oh, Hong Kong was so good. I had so much fun watching Hong Kong. And you know that photo that we talked about that, we were just like, oh my God, this is such a cute photo. Who knew that that photo would be so prominent in this tournament? But it actually turned out to be truly the next gen tournament of the WTA. And we say next gen. The next gen is actually an ATP tournament that exists. It's a tournament where it's basically their version of year end finals, but for players under the age of 21, that are the top 8 under 21 players. They play it at the end of the year. The WTA does not currently have a version of it, but this was kind of their version of it. So
Sort of.
it was sort of, but it was exciting. It was really, really exciting.
In that they were actively promoting some of these younger names in a mix of a cross-generational draw. The young names were the draw here, like were the reason you pay attention for it. And obviously we've got all these great younger players in the mix. And to be fair, we did get a result that reflected that. Maybe not that Christina Buxer made the final, although she's definitely worthy of a mention there because she's a proper ground pass player who can provide some entertainment. But sort of, she's like 24, I think, so not quite next gen. But having Ayala and Mboko playing each other, which was good fun. Mboko Fernandez was a good match. And Vicky Mboko has won a second WTA title. She's finally backed up Montreal, clearly recovered from the injury that she's had, and
Yeah.
showing that once more, when in full flow, she's very, very tough to stop. Yeah, going from strength to strength, I think, and had a very exciting tournament, promoted it well, promoting herself well there. So for me, I think she's the main story from Hong Kong, coming through these kind of younger players, coming through everybody. Even a player who is doing very, very well in the Asian swing, like Leylah Fernandez, who always does well this time of year, always gets matches. To beat her is a really high standard to beat, to get to get over. So yeah, second main tour title for Vicky, backs it up, and she can end her season on a high, which is going to be really big for her, I think, going into next year, where she's going to try and figure out where she sits in the pecking order now, because I don't think we've seen that yet. She got injured during Montreal and then could not show her best during the US Open, could not show her
Yeah.
best in other tournaments she's played since up until now. So let's see where she fits in with like the real big guns as a seed probably in Australia now, which is exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, for me, again, it was great that Vicky was able to sort of end the season on a high, on a win, because I feel like this whole year for her has just been an absolute, just sort of like, first of all, it was her sort of like her coming out party of just sort of like, here she is, great player, won a 1000 level title. Now she's won a 250, so 2 titles this year. So it's been great for her in general. And based on the injury, it's been great that she ends the year on a high and on a win. But I think for me, the most interesting thing about Hong Kong was that it was a showcase for young WTA talent, because the matches they produced day in and day out were all exciting, fun matches. Every morning I would wake up to a fun match. And like Nick said earlier, where do you find me? You find me on Threads. We have a really great community on Threads. Like, I think of all the places we sort of post every day, Threads is where I talk to the most people. And the responses I would get from people, I remember after Victoria Mboko played Alex Ayala, everyone was sort of like, wow, this was such an exciting match. I'm so excited to watch them play together. Like, it was such a great showcase of women's tennis. And people were talking about how they wanted to see them play doubles together. Like, it was just so much excitement around the sport of women's tennis. It was so nice to see, like, to see people talk positively about the sport. There was no sort of like this or that, or anything crazy. It was just general excitement about the sport. And I think that's what I love about next gen. I feel like that's what this tournament brought as well. And again, Maya Joint was also there, getting through to the quarterfinals. It just was such a happy tournament. Even in loss, Alex Ayala was like hugging Victoria Mboko, because it was such good vibes in the tournament. Victoria Mboko, in her press conference at the end, was talking about how, like, she just gets bubble tea with Alex Ayala. Like, that's what they do, outside of the tournament. And I don't know, it was just a very, very great experience to watch this tournament with other people as well, even though most of them are just online and I don't know who they are, except I talk to them all the time. But it really was a great experience. So more of Hong Kong. We need more of Hong Kong in tennis for sure, because that was a fun experience. Before we move on from the next gen, though, and go on to what's coming up next, we of course have to talk about Janice Tjen. She played a tournament in India. I did not watch a lot of this. I did watch the final, though. She played against Kim Burrell and she won the title. Second, no, not her. Is it her second? Yes, her second title this year. But I think this is her first WTA main tour title. The
That's
last
right.
title
Yeah.
she won was a challenger. It was a 125, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really nice to see, again, another next gen player who popped up this year playing so well, end the year on a high, and excited to see what she brings into next season.
And this is where Ground Pass is ahead of the game, because we made her a player of the fortnight literally a couple of episodes ago. So we knew she was kind of coming, and first main tour title definitely seems to be reflective of where she's at and the progress she's suddenly seemed to have made in her ranking. And like that US Open run that made things interesting was very exciting. And so let's see how many Indonesian fans we get joining our community.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see. So well done, Janice. Probably I was rooting for her to win that title in India, and I'm very glad that she did. So I agree. Great story there.
Okay, we've mentioned this we've been talking about this since the ATPs, and
we've been talking about what's next already, kind of. So this is your quiz. Which tournaments are Lorenzo Musetti and Felix Auger-Aliassime playing next week? And Novak Djokovic.
Well, next week, here's what's coming next week. The ATP are just going to try and make it. Here are the players trying to make it to the year-end finals. Next week is what's happening. We're going to have FAA in Metz trying to make it to the year-end finals. It's an indoor tournament In France, he's going to be joined by Giovanni Mepesci-Pericard and Cameron Norrie. In Athens, in Greece, we're going to have Musetti trying to make it to the year-end finals. He'll be joined by Korda, Elliot Sviziri, and Novak Djokovic, who apparently is in the year-end finals, but we are not sure he is going to be playing the year-end finals. It's going to be all about the year-end finals for the ATP gentlemen next week.
And the WTA, but that's because they're actually playing the year-end finals right now. So that's still going on, with the final taking place on Saturday afternoon, my time. So probably more Saturday morning. I think it's going to be a 4 p.m. start for me, which would make it an 11 a.m. start for you, Anastasia. So that's going to be a fun sort of lunchtime, afternoon event. Don't know who's going to play it, but it's going to be fun either way, whoever it is.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going to be glued to that tournament. I am so annoyed that I have work meetings during Iga Swiatek and Elena Rybakina, because I really want to see what happens there.
Well, you'll always catch the replay. Just don't go online and you'll be fine.
I'm going to have to, because unless someone texts me the results, which I only want you to do that if it's like a complete blowout in either direction, to be honest. I'm not watching that. But anything else will be interesting. I'll try and see if I can catch it when I get home.
Okay, it is time. It's time for the players of the fortnight. I don't know who started last time, but Nick, you go ahead. You start.
Okay, I'm going with kind of the next gen theme here anyway, but we picked a lot of our next geners kind of established we've won already. We've had Janice Tjen and Vicky Mboko winning. I need to double check if I'm pronouncing her last name right at this point. But winning before in their previous plays of the fortnight on the show. You know, I was tempted to go with Belinda Bencic after the great year she's had, and realizing that she's, what kind of year she's had, doing well and kind of reflecting that. But I noticed something this week that kind of flew under the radar. I think we need to talk about the next gen. Both the French Open Girls Champion and the Wimbledon Girls Champion did really well this week. One of them being, so I'll mention the one who hasn't won it, and it's Mia Piakova, who got to the Ponkova. You're gonna have to get used to pronouncing this name, because so am I. She actually got to the quarterfinals of Chennai and lost to Janice Tjen, and did really, really well in that tournament. The French Open Girls Champion was Lily Tagger, who got to the final in Jiangxi, which is the one WTA tournament we haven't talked about this week. She lost to Anna Blinkova in the final. Lily Tagger is 17 years old and seems to already be, I guess, launching herself into the seniors by getting a main tour final very early on. And these are the players that she beat. These are really experienced WTA players she got to beat to go to the final. Elisabetta Cocciaretto, Tamara Korpach, and Victoria Golubich, all very experienced at this sort of level of like 250 challengers, winning those regularly. And she beat them all, and then lost to Anna Blinkova in the final, who has a track record of bothering top players. She very famously went super long with Elena Rybakina a couple of years ago at the Australian Open, and she beat Jasmine Paolini about a year and a half before Jasmine Paolini became the Jasmine Paolini that we recognise in a really tough final. So what am I saying here? Lily Tagger, name for the future, one to watch. Don't expect her to break into any like top 100 like in the near future, especially since the season's winding down. But when you start making your plans to go and check out Ground Pass players in 2026, Lily Tagger is one of the names that you should have on your list. That's my player of the fortnight.
I didn't get to watch, again, a lot of, any really of that tournament except for the final. So missed her matches, but
the worst time zone for both of us, to be honest.
Yeah. But I will sort of keep an eye on little Lily Tagger. Great name, by the way. Great name.
She's from Austria, by the way, if I didn't already say.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, my players of the fortnight, because I like to keep an eye on the doubles and give them some love as well, is Helio Vara and Patton. Harry Helio Vara and Henry Patton otherwise known as Double H, as I have nicknamed them, with their coordination, actually. If you don't know, I interviewed them at the City Open a year ago. I will leave that interview below. It's in our Meet the Players series. And Double H won the Paris Masters today. I watched that final. It was really great. And they played such a great tournament this week. And especially in the final where they beat Glasspool and Lloyd, who they have lost to 4 times already this year. So on the 5th time, they finally got them. But they had to play the cleanest match in order to win against them. Lloyd and Glasspool have been the top doubles team all year. They were on the longest winning streak for the longest time. And, coming against a team who you have lost to so many times can be so tough. But I think they played so well this week. They came in with a plan, and it was just they were definitely the better team today. And, it was incredible to watch them. They're a very interesting pair. They were the Cinderella story of last year when they won the Wimbledon title. But this year they won the Australian Open. But since the Australian Open, they kind of had a bit of a not great season, you could say. They didn't win any titles from the Australian Open up until the China Open, which is when they did win a title. They did not defend, obviously, their Wimbledon title, but they won the China Open, and then now they have won their very first 1,000 level title at the Paris Masters. They're going to be at the year-end finals, so you can catch them there as well. They're a great team to follow because they are the most opposite of characters that you will ever see in a doubles team. Henry, who's British, is the most sort of like calm, straight-laced, the most British person probably that you would see in a doubles team. And Harry, who's from Finland, he is so crazy. He celebrations when they win is on another level. The contrast is so epic because Henry's sort of like, yay, we won. And Harry is like, it's like a volcano exploded. So yeah, they're really, really great team to watch. Great characters. Harry actually has a really cool vlog, and not a vlog, it's actually like a written blog. So I will find it and link it below. I like to look at it from time to time because it is in Finnish, so you have to Google translate it, but it's a really good behind the scene blog of his life on tour. And I really like it. If you sort of instead of watching stuff and reading stuff, it's actually a really good read. So yeah, my players of the Fortnight are Harry Hiliavara and Henry Pat.
Well, Boop. You have to pick them at least once a year, right? So
definitely, obviously.
They're in the mix. It's going to be tough.
So we're going to go. It's the end of the episode. Jessica Pegula and Coco Gauff are still playing right now. Their match is still going on. Jessica Pegula has the early break in the 3rd set. Coco Gauff took the 2nd set in a tiebreak. And yeah, we'll see how this one goes. It looks like it's a tight match, so we're going to go and try and watch the rest of it till the end. Guys, it's been really great. Thank you for joining Nick and I for another episode of Ground Pass. If you're listening to this on a podcast player of your choice, please leave us a review and a comment. It really helps other people find our podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week with another episode.
Bye.